Welcome to the podcast, Appetite for Distortion, episode number 286. My name is Brando. This episode is going to be absurd, isn't it? It's going to be like Pee Wee Herman's word of the day every time someone says absurd. Wish I had my soundboard. Just freaking out. So if you're watching on Zoom or podcast or however you're consuming this episode, with me today, Guns N' Roses fans like myself are with us. So we got Greg from New York City.
What's happening, Brando?
Thanks for having me on. Thanks for volunteering. And no, we do not know each other just because we're from the same area. So I appreciate, because I think you were talking to me for a few days before on Twitter, and I always encourage people to do this. DM me, and he's like, "I'm going to the show. I would love to come on, especially after I did the Hershey Park review." So I'm glad to get you on, Greg, and we are going to talk about what happened just a few hours ago as we're recording this.
Yep.
What happened last night in New Jersey. But first, we need to invite our other guest, Mike O'Donoghue, which I guess appropriately you're from Massachusetts with the O'Donoghue.
Yeah. Worcester, born and bred.
As I called it, well, it's Worcester. Obviously, Worcester, as I know now, but I made that joke. I think maybe I said it on the podcast. I saw the Foo Fighters against me and Surge in what I thought was Worcester, me being the New Yorker working in Cape Cod radio, and that's a whole other story.
We got a little rivalry going, a little New York, Boston.
A little bit. I will say I hate you guys less. There's no hate because I like Bostonians. I think you're good people. I may not like the Red Sox. And I said this though, GNR related with the lithographs coming out. That was an awesome lithograph at Fenway. That was a green monster. As a Yankee fan, I would have gotten that.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, I didn't get it, but it was freaking awesome.
So I want to get your experience first. So, because if you've been following on social media, just like Happy Guns N' Roses week, this has just been exciting. Just to, if you're able to get out and experience live music. I mean, I don't know about you guys. These were my first shows since the pandemic. Right? It was same for you?
Yeah, same here. My first show back. So I was so freaking excited. And I think everyone was. You could feel the energy.
Right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So it was super exciting. All of it, just all of it, just the vibe of it all. But this week I was filming and playing morning show producer at a Q1043 in Tribeca. So that morning show starts at 5 a.m. So I got to wake up at 3:05. I go to bed. I try to go to bed reasonably.
That's why you answer my DMs at 4 a.m., huh?
Yeah, I'm not a pervert scrolling through pics. I was working. So I actually passed out during the Fenway show. I was excited for people going, but I passed out I think 7 o'clock that night. I wake up and I see my mentions blowing up. There's this new song. All right. Can you take us through that day about how we got to Absurd and just like is this your first time seeing Guns N' Roses? Kind of take us through your day at Fenway Park.
So first things first, just because you're a hockey guy, I'm outside Lansdowne Street, which is like the most popular place right behind the Green Monster at Fenway. And guess who I see walking down the street in crutches? Tuukka Rask. In the most busiest street in Boston at the time, Tuukka Rask walks by in crutches, and no one even notices him. I'm like, "Hey, Tuukka," and I try to give him a fist bump. But he's holding crutches, so he can't give me a fist bump.
You should just nodded at him. What do you?
Yeah, I was trying to look too hard. I have a few in me.
Fair enough.
But yeah, as a hockey guy, I figured you appreciate that.
I did.
So I'm the youngest of 9. My oldest siblings are like 40. No, actually, my oldest sibling's 54. But I have brothers that grew up in the 80s, and we grew up on that music. His favorite band's Motley Crue, but it was also Guns N' Roses too. But so I kind of flocked to Guns N' Roses. And the first time I actually saw them was in 2008. It was just Axl. Papa Roach opened up, and then Sebastian Bach, and then Guns N' Roses it wasn't Buckethead. I don't know who was actually the guitarist at the time, but I was 14.
Nice.
And so we waited there forever. I had school the next day. We waited there forever. I don't think they came on to maybe in classic Axl fashion, maybe 11 o'clock. And we were in the front row the whole time, and it was freaking awesome. And I think Axl appreciated these two 14-year-olds at 1 a.m. in the front row. So he came over to us, reached his hand down to us, and I could grab his hand. I could feel the ring on his finger. It was amazing. And the next day at school, I literally couldn't hear because of the speakers in my ears the whole time. And then after that, the next time I ever saw them was in Las Vegas. Flew out to their reunion show.
Okay.
So were you there for that one?
I was not.
Well, it was freaking unbelievable. Obviously, he was in the chair. We were supposed to go home the next day. You know what I did? Missed my flight, stayed for the next show.
Nice.
It was unbelievable. And then I saw them. They did their Not This Lifetime tour. They came to Boston again. So I'm at Gillette Stadium.
Okay.
So I'm again at TD Garden. And then I went to Austin City Limits, where I saw them 2 years ago before COVID. And it was the best time I've ever seen them play, hands down.
Which weekends did you see them? One or two?
I think second weekend.
Oh, so I was there too. How did
No
I not
way.
spot you in the thousands upon thousands of people in the field? But
Yeah, because I didn't eat since like noon that day because we're on like flights connecting from all over. So when I ran straight to the freaking back of the crowd.
that was my show prior to Hershey Park before COVID.
No way.
Yeah.
So you went to Hershey too?
Yeah. So I was I wanted to travel either to well, I was hoping Wrigley Field, they were that original date was gonna fall on when I was visiting Chicago, but then they moved it. Then Greg, I don't know if you're gonna do this, and I'm gonna look into it maybe the day of, but Atlantic City, but it's way too expensive because it's a smaller venue, way too expensive. Fenway, if it was on a weekend, if this wasn't yesterday, or a weekday rather, I would have gone, but I decided I'm like, you know what? Hershey falls on a Saturday. I can make a 3-hour drive on a Saturday. And I did. So that was my logic. If you wanted to know.
Yeah, no, that works. I think for me, it's going to depend. Like other shows are just going to depend on where I'm at, what's going on, and if it kind of falls that way. Like last night was a given that was going to happen. Anytime they're going to play MetLife, I'm going to be there.
Did you hold on to your tickets, Greg, for MetLife, or did you buy them new when they rescheduled?
No, this was new. I actually got lucky. My brother-in-law, who for years has been saying, like, I play golf with this dude. He's either one of their lawyers or managers or something to do with VIP Nation or something. He's like, yeah, next time Guns N' Roses around, I can get us backstage. And I'm like, okay, because I filed that away real quick, right? And so now I'm like, hey, bro, Guns N' Roses is coming around. He's like, oh, let me see what I can do. And then like a week ago, he's like, here, I got these 2 tickets. And they were on the floor. They were amazing.
Oh.
I mean, we'll get back to, I don't know if you want to keep going through the Fenway show, but we'll get into that.
Yeah. No, that's good. You're giving us teasers because these were the New Jersey last night were tickets left over from the cancellation initially with Smashing Pumpkins.
Right.
I was happy with Wolfgang Van Halen. They were great. So Mike, catch us up to, Fenway. Did you get there?
That's how you and me first met. Cause I messaged you. I'm like, hey, when did they come on? Cause I mean, I don't know anything. I don't know Mammoth. I don't know Wolfgang Van Halen. I know he's obviously he's the son of a legend. But so that's why I asked you when the doors opened and when they came on. And so we walked in about 7 o'clock and they came on at like 7:45. And they came out, obviously, freaking, it's so easy, just waiting for that Duff line, and from there it freaking took off and it was awesome. I mean, I can go song by song and let you know like how it went and like what we thought, but I mean, again, they were awesome. Their stage presence was amazing. I don't know if it was sold out though. I will tell you that there was some empty seats.
I think that might be a pandemic thing. Because it's not just GNR. Because last night I was told, and shout out to JT Turret, who was my also another AFD show listener, who was my co-host on the Fat Mike episode. He was working the event. He worked some promotions, and he says he's like, this is like 80% capacity. He's like, this is actually really good.
Yeah.
Okay.
And apparently, I don't know if I could say this, JT, but apparently he had to do a Starbucks run for Axl. So I don't know. I think that's cool. I don't think that's giving away too much.
That's the stuff I love to hear more than anything is the backstage, like what goes on, what what he demands, what's on his rider, all that.
I'd be so nervous. I'd be like, oh, dude, man, I don't want to get Axel's coffee order wrong, dude. That's like, this is my one chance. I messed it up.
I know. You probably bring like extra sugar packets in your pocket just in case if he needs,
I walk in a
just an
Starbucks,
equal
just give me one of
honey.
everything. I'm just going to make sure I got everything covered. Whatever
you
you
go.
have, give it all to me.
Just bring him a barista. I have one on hand. I have one on retainer for you. But the thing, Mike, that I want to get from you, because there were some issues at Hershey, and I used to wonder if why they didn't debut anything that first night. And I talked about this the last episode with the Hershey Park review, that there seemed to be some technical difficulties, which happens. I know that in radio, like it happens. No matter how much you test, shit happens. So I want to know, because again, I woke up to, wait, they played Silkworms with Slash and Duff. Like they now it's called Absurd. What? Like I thought I was still dreaming. I was like David Enter Dentist. Is this real life? So Mike, take us through that. Did you?
All right.
What was going on?
So we're there. It's like, I don't know how many songs in. I don't have the set list on me, but we're
That's
like,
fine.
me personally, I was like, oh, it's a spaghetti incident song. I'm gonna go grab a beer. So I go in line to grab a beer, which is like, still you can see the stage, all that stuff. And I like heard it, but then I heard the breakdown in the end when Axel's like singing softly. I'm like, turn back, and I was like, what is that? That like, it's literally like, it's like the God singing. And I look back and I was like, this freaking song is awesome. And then at the end of it, he goes, well, you heard it here first. That's a new GNR song, new Guns N' Roses song. And that's what he tells us. And I'm like, Jesus. And then all I was watching yesterday was YouTube videos. And then at midnight or something, it came out. I fell asleep to it last night, listened to it on the way here. And then I looked up the set list and it said Silkworms. So that was Silkworms unreleased. It wasn't on Chinese Democracy. So, I mean, then I was like, well, I just remember it like getting leaked or something like that. So, and then it's like, no freaking way. That's Silkworms. Hey, absurd.
Were you aware of Silkworms before?
Well, yeah, because back in the day, like I said, it leaked, but like I didn't know it. Like I wouldn't have known the words.
No, that right. Exactly. Yeah. So when people were texting me the lyrics, I'm like, why are people texting me? And I'll just say, if you're listening with kids around, earmuffs, pussy full of maggots. Like I just know I don't know. I heard Silkworms once and I was like, and it was a live version. I'm like, I can't, I don't know what to make of this right now. So that's just funny that you went to grab a beer and you missed the moment almost.
I swear to God, like I turned back and I was like, what is this? It was like the breakdown that like took me over, because that's something you've never ever heard like out of Axl or GNR or anything. It's almost like new age that they like brought some like electronic music in there and had him sing, and it was just like freaking beautiful. But it's so opposite from the song itself, which is just like also another new version of Axl we've never heard before. Like who has ever heard Axl sing like that?
I love it. He did kind of like on Down on the Farm, that kind of, I'll give a shout out to Mark Danzeisen, who was in Gilby's band. He commented on when the song first hit, I think Fenway, and I shared the video, and he's like, what's Axl singing like that? I'm like, he likes to play with his voice Down on the Farm. And if you listen to stuff, parts of Chinese Democracy, like Shackler's Revenge, it's not surprising.
Like, you're right. It is like a little Shackler's Revenge, like similar to it for sure.
But it's not, it's similar, right? But he's never just kind of done that throughout an entire song like that. So it is still, yes, it's still different for him.
And I love the classic Axl in the background, like every once in a while. It's like, yeah. Which obviously he wasn't doing in real life when we saw him. But it was like a backtrack. They were playing that. But, I mean, it was still freaking awesome. Yeah.
So Greg, where were you? Like, that's how Guns N' Roses fans are going to be. Where were you when Absurd dropped?
So, first of all, before I give you my take on Absurd, could we just take a step back for a second and realize not only are they playing a new song live, they released a finished version of that last night, which means this is going to be happening on this tour. They're sound checking Hard School, right? They're going to release that song. And I think because the record business is so different now, that this is going to be their thing. They're going to work on, like, tighten up songs and sound check, and they're going to be debuting songs this way. And in another month or two, I think we're going to be sitting looking at like 3 to 5 new Guns N' Roses songs. which is insane. Insane. Yeah. Yeah.
It's
So,
all the
okay.
haters, all the haters. I mean,
So
I
good.
you know,
So
it's
it's
not
like
like I
don't-
knew, but
Right.
I still held out hope. I
So,
mean,
so Silkworms is, I was aware of that title, never knew any of the words. This is like for years, okay, like Axl's working on an album, Axl's working on an album, and Chinese Democracy took like 97 years to come out, right?
Roughly.
So I'm gonna date myself here because I remember like Napster, and I'm trying to find like all these unreleased tracks, and he's fighting everyone to keep things secret. So I knew the title, but I didn't know anything else other than that. Now, when I started seeing the clips on YouTube from the Fenway show, I was like, this kind of sucks, because Axl's voice sounds much better when you're there in the venue. All those YouTube clips weren't doing it justice. That song, and I guess you can't curse on the show, so I'll kind of like,
no, you can.
fuck yeah. Okay, so that song sounds like a fucking freight train when you hear it. I mean, it just boom, and it goes, and it's so good. And so we get a new Guns N' Roses song, A. B, it's hard as hell, right? And you get him doing that, like, yeah, it's totally Spaghetti Incident kind of punk stuff going on with Axl's voice. It's just so good. And it's a song, the first time I heard it, like I said, I was like, it's YouTube, it sucks. But then I'm like, oh wait, this is kind of cool. And now I cannot listen to anything else other than that stupid song. Like I can't, it's in my head.
Me too. I'm not gonna lie.
It's
I'm not gonna, yeah.
And so like when you have this whole thing, like, rock is dead, right? Now, what convinces me that it's not is you go see a Foo Fighters show and you're like, man, it is alive and well. So the fact that GNR is releasing new music and it's that hard and it's that heavy, it is good to be alive. It really is. So
I like
good.
that. And did you see, speaking of the Foo Fighters, did you see what they just did outside one of their concerts?
No.
They were getting protested by the Westboro Baptist Church, those assholes. So who's trying to protest things.
Is that because they made everyone be vaccinated at a concert?
That was at the
yeah, probably. Then they were in kind of like a farm pickup truck. The band, the whole band, all the Foo Fighters, like driving along the road while they're all protesting, all set up, and they're like doing disco, grooving, being like, you know what you should be doing instead of hating,
Dancing.
loving, yeah, dancing, exactly, loving. And he led to that
PG
dancing,
thing,
and he
yeah.
broke. So he's like, I love you guys, I love you. So I just thought that was cool. I just wanted to mention, since you mentioned the Foo Fighters.
The best.
But yeah, it's been stuck in my head ever since. So I guess, like Mike, if you want to give, before we move on to, I guess, the MetLife experience, what other highlights from Fenway for you?
Well, yeah, like I wish you could see my plays on my Spotify, because it's probably been like, honestly, like 48 times since midnight. I just listened to it over and over and over. Like I said, I went to sleep to it. And yeah, you guys are talking about how oh my God, this, like, and I agree. I'm just gonna be a little devil's advocate here, that all this, we can potentially have new Guns N' Roses music, and like he said, not a live version, like a recorded thing that you've never heard before. It's like, holy shit. But it was also kind of a song that was also Silkworms before, right? So it's like, are we really gonna get that new music, or is it we just gonna get a little play off? Is that just to tease us, and that's an old recorded song that we're not actually gonna get new music for another freaking 8 years? Who knows,
Just the one song to hold us over for another 8 years. That's this band.
Was our song before, so it's like, I mean, I'm just, like I said, I could not be more excited for the potential, like he said, and then we could have all these new. We could literally have a new album soon. Like, who knows? But this is the fact that it was an old song turned into a new song, kind of, scares me. Like, is that all we're gonna get?
Okay.
Mike, I think that like bands do that all the time. Like they'll be working on a riff for years, or they'll bring an older riff into the studio and kind of rework it and redo it. So to me, because I never heard it before, I'm like, it's new to me. Maybe Slash has a riff that he was playing around with Velvet Revolver or somebody else, and he brings that into the studio. So I don't know. Like that's a cool thing. We don't know.
I agree with you.
Keeps us on our toes every freaking time. That's why we love them, right?
Yes, exactly. Keeps us on our toes. Exactly.
But while you say Velvet Revolver, I think Slither was like the third or fourth song in, and that is just the sleaziest freaking riff. And Slash is so sleazy on that song, I can't get enough of it. He's just nasty on that song. I freaking love it.
Yep.
I'm glad he's doing it live, and I will say, because I wasn't a huge fan of that version first,
Yeah.
but I think he is progressively Axel that has gotten better at it. And I think, I thought it was great at Hershey. I thought it was even better last night at MetLife.
Okay.
So
And go on.
no,
And for
that's
sure, I mean, it's cool for Axel to actually like, hey, yeah, we'll play some Velvet Revolver, you know?
that's what I love about it. And that goes to Greg's point. And as we go to MetLife, it doesn't matter, I think, when things are written, and I tweeted that this morning, because if somebody wrote it, like, that's still Axel's music, that's still Slash's music. It's just art that this is when it's meant to come out. It doesn't have to be, it's not a hot pocket. It doesn't need to be fresh out the oven. I think that would be cool. Like, yeah, they're all in the room, they come up with a new, who's to say they didn't do that? So who's to say this isn't going to be, shiny stuff that Axel has been working on trying to make for years, and finally got the missing piece, Slash and Duff or whatever else, to make it available now. So maybe it wasn't meant to come out at that time, because I didn't like what I first heard, but I like, just like with you, Mike, I've been listening on repeat. Same thing with you, Greg. So, for those people, I kind of tweeted a lot of my story yesterday. Shout out to my fiance who did a lot of the Instagram lives. Thank you to everybody who's streaming along with me. I got to say, but I don't want to forget this, you two included. It's very humbling to, me, just this little guy from, Long Island or whatever, start this GNR podcast. And I tweeted I'm going to a show, and just all these people all over the world telling me to have a good time. And it made me feel that everybody was with me. It just made me enjoy the concert so much more. The people wishing me to have a good time, whether they were across the pond, whether, it was across just the states, wherever. So it was just very, very humbling. And it's just, that's why I want to invite fans like you guys on. Greg, you volunteered. Mike, when you were messaging me on Instagram, I'm like, you know what? This guy sounds cool. I think I want to get him for a Fenway review. So
Awesome.
that's how it works. So, Greg, take us through your day at MetLife.
Yeah. So I want to say real quick, because just you're talking about Axel being cool enough to do a Velvet Revolver song. So like, I started seeing them in '91. So I've seen, like what you were talking about, Mike, wait until 1 o'clock in the morning. Man, I have been at those shows. I was at a show when they played with Metallica, where Metallica came on. No, Guns N' Roses came on first. No, I don't remember.
It's a long
I don't
time
remember
ago.
the order, but I remember Guns N' Roses played for about 15 minutes.
Ooh.
People were throwing shit on stage. Axel warned people. He got hit with a water bottle. He was like, fuck you guys. And he left. So, Metallica was so good that night that you were like, whatever. Because I had seen Guns N' Roses a bunch of times and I kind of expected that. So it made me think of this new Axel. I saw Axel sing for AC/DC at the Garden a few years ago.
Me too.
What was cool about that was he wasn't the front man Axl Rose. He kicked in the back because he knew, like, hey man, Angus, this is your band. I'm not here to be Axl Rose. I'm going to sing the songs and I'm going to hang back and let you do your thing. So I thought that was really cool. So that kind of, I was thinking that because of the whole Velvet Revolver thing. So anyhow, my day yesterday was just so great. It's like, we were talking off the air for a minute, Brendan. I still can't believe, like, this is my favorite band growing up, them and the Stones. Like when I was 18, I got a Guns N' Roses tattoo. Like, this is my band, right? And I never thought they were going to get back together. It just wasn't going to happen. And when they came back on the Not in This Lifetime tour, I went to see them, MetLife, and I thought I was like, this could be a money grab. It's going to suck. It's not going to be as good as I remember it. Da 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 da. And I was shocked at how great they were, and I was shocked at how much fun they were having on stage. And I was like, look at this. Like, Axl's cool with everybody. Like, this is amazing. So going into yesterday, I still cannot believe that I'm seeing them. And I can't believe that they're this good. Like, that band sounds as good as they've ever sounded. The difference between seeing them now and the 90s was, like, in the 90s, they were dangerous. Like, you felt like something could go down at this show. Axl's out of his mind. Like, you just didn't know what was going to happen. They're not that now, but they are so freaking good. That band is tight. They are electric. Mike mentioned Presence. I mean, those dudes are up there. They are fucking rock stars of the highest caliber, right? So I knew I had these good seats going to yesterday, and I was like, man, this is going to be great. I'm on the floor. I can't wait. And it's like that Wayne's World thing. Anytime you get like great seats and you're like, with your pass, you're like, I can get in. So I get there really early. Yeah. I get there really early because I wanted to see Mammoth WVH. I wanted to see Eddie's kid. And so you're there and there's not a lot of people there. And I'm just at these seats looking around that I'm so close to the stage. And it's like, again, my overall thing is like, I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe I get to see them again. And from the second they hit the stage, a lot of times, right, when you see a live show, a band takes 2 or 3 songs to warm up. That's what happens. They just kind of got to find the pocket. Then they came out on fire last night. On fire. They ripped through everything they did. They sounded perfect to me. I don't know if you want to go through song by song, or I just had such a great experience. And it's been like, you know, first of all, I also couldn't believe, I'm like, I was Mr. like, I'm going to do the right things because of COVID and I'm double vaccinated and whatever. But like, I still couldn't believe. I was like, holy shit, I'm around 80,000 people. Like I was afraid to be on an elevator like 8 months ago. And now look how far we've come. But having that experience, like that stadium rock experience, 60,000 or 80,000 people all singing the songs, everybody dancing, everybody just kind of being free and cool. It was just amazing. I just had the greatest time at that show last night. I mean, I'm still like buzzing. That's why I couldn't wait to do this, because I couldn't wait to talk about it.
So wait to do it there. I was so excited. I still am. I could do this forever.
Totally. And I want to give a shout out too, because like we all talk about, listen, Duff / Axl, amazing. But like you watch Richard Fortus, that dude is a rock star. You watch Melissa Reese, whew, she is a rock star. You have all that neon stuff going on behind her. She's swinging that blue hair around, looking like some kind of like futuristic rock star from like the year 2500. Like she's kind of part Blade Runner, part Here and Now, right? Amazing. I mean, that is just one hell of a band.
I couldn't agree anymore. That's why I hope, with whether it is absurd or whatever may come out, that people like Richard and Melissa are involved in it. Like that's kind of that's the main thing that I want. You know, and maybe this is where we want to go, because it's nice to see there seems to be more positive reviews, you know, online than negative, and because it is a jarring song, especially if you're not, you know, was aware of Chinese Democracy or anything. If you're just a generic Guns N' Roses fan that just knows the radio hits, it's a jarring song, you know, with lyrical content and everything.
That's
but
Axl
it was
Rose.
That is Axl Rose, and that was, I mean, if you go back to, you know, Oh My God, Shackler's Revenge, now Absurd, that's Guns N' Roses, and I think that was not the path that Slash wanted to go. He wanted to go Snake Pit, obviously, Velvet, Axl more electronic. So I think that's part of the deal. But what I want to talk about is the reception, that you still get people thinking Axl's going to be late, which is just not the case. They're right on time.
More credit to Axl for that. We're talking about him doing the Revolver songs, and the guy came on at 7:45. It's like, is this who is this guy? New Axl Rose?
Didn't they do a thing with this tour so far, the dates, where they like moved it up and they said like Mammoth is coming on earlier?
Yeah.
Like they're early. What is happening?
They moved up everything early. And so these are things that have improved and that you can control. What people don't seem to understand, and I want to display, and I have regular Joe Schmo fans on, you know, everybody. I don't, you know, I want you to give your honest opinion. I'm not going to censor you guys, but that's with, you know, Axl's voice, that people want to talk about Axl's voice. I know it's different on the song. I'm not even talking about that with his style, his punk rock style to it. But when people say that if he doesn't sound like he's, you know, the Axl of old of the 20s, I was glad to see this tweet I put out get a lot of attention. It's like, you know, when people who complain that Axl, a 59-year-old Axl Rose, doesn't sound like he's in his 20s, it's like, I am going to be 38 in a month. I used to down like boxes of like Lucky Charms and just cookies. Now I get a bellyache. And if I have, like, after a bowl of cereal, like I get a little tummy ache. I have to take a Tums. I understand that, like, you know, our bodies change. All right. And I also understand that, like, while I'm making a joke, Axl is performance based. It's different than sports. You know, Mike's, you know, we're sports guys. It's different. Like, let's just say it's Noma, right? Noma or David Ortiz. Somebody who's beloved. They are beloved but they reach a certain point where if they still are on the Red Sox, they're not going to perform to where they win. That's the key goal. It's not like that in a band. If baseball was just about entertainment and score didn't matter, yeah, wouldn't you want to see David Ortiz still like hit home runs? Like if he could, maybe he wouldn't hit him as far.
Yeah, I mean, I can't attest to what Axl was in 1991, 1993. I mean, maybe you and Greg can.
So we have two viewpoints, I think, because I didn't
Yeah.
see them until 2002. So I think it's you seeing them, someone younger that's new,
So you,
newer fan that knows this is what Axl is the only way Axl has sounded like to you. And then
So-
Greg, who's seen them back in '91 at his his peak.
Yeah.
You're not bothered by it. Everyone around me, I don't know about you guys. Everyone loves it. Everyone's singing along to it.
does
one's
the job
complaining.
for me, man. Does the job for me. I think he did not disappoint. I think he sounds actually, since they've gone back together, I think he's slowly started to sound better and better. And Greg, I want to hear what you think about it, because you actually did see them back in the day.
So we were talking a little bit before we got on here, me and Brando. I saw them, the first time I saw them was a secret gig in 91 in May. They did 3 shows in New York City to kind of get ready for the Use Your Illusion tour. They played Use Your Illusion songs. Like it took me a while. I wanted to get like prepared for this podcast. So I was like, I had to research when that show was, because I didn't remember exactly. They played, I got the set list here, a bunch of Use Your Illusion songs before, like months before those albums came out. And if you watch the You Could Be Mine video, the live footage there, that was my show. So that was really cool. So he doesn't sound like that guy anymore. But like, who cares? You know what I mean? He was 25 years old or whatever he was. He was insane. He was a screaming banshee. Like what he was able to do with his voice, like not like Steven Tyler, but that kind of crazy voice that he had. I don't care that he can't do that now. Who cares? He sounded great last night. That was Axl Rose and Guns N' Roses. That's like, people want to complain about stuff, I think. Like they just want to. I'm still freaked out that that's Axl and Duff and Slash, and they're playing together and having a good time, and they're ripping through their set, and I'm having the best time. It's good enough for me, man. He sounds great to me.
That's
Awesome.
how I feel.
Yeah.
I haven't been to, to show. I obviously this was my 7th GNR show since 2002, but I hadn't been to one like this close in proximity. Where I was at Hershey last Saturday, and then I'm in New Jersey on Thursday.
That's a great.
I want to go again. I feel like if I had the means, I would follow them around like the dead. That's how I feel right now.
Yeah, right. So that's a great question. So forgetting that they had technical difficulties that first night, did they sound different to you as a band? Did they sound tighter? Was there something that they worked out that maybe they weren't so on point with the first show?
I think they seem more
That's what I want to
confident.
hear too from you, Brando.
I think if anything, maybe more confident, because I feel like just it threw Axl off kind of a bit, because you would even like he would pull the way, not just like to have fans sing certain lyrics, he would pull the mic away, because I think maybe he didn't trust it a bit.
Right.
But I don't know, it was a better version of Sweet Child and November Rain, like vocally. Like it was, I don't know, it was a better show, which was really interesting. And that's something else to keep in mind. People don't, like Axl wasn't prepared the first show. How do you know? Like his vocal process?
Nonsense.
Like that's something well, I'm sorry. That's like something that Doug Goldstein has told me that'll, be in the book that eventually, comes out, that, Axl was late a lot of the times because he was doing vocal stuff. Like that was just his process. I don't know why it took him 4 hours or however long. It's just, he wanted to make sure his voice was on point. So I think that's just who he is. And people thinking same thing with his voice, but like his figure, people are obsessed with Axl Rose's figure. He looks like a fucking really healthy, like 59-year-old guy. He looks great.
He was 23, wearing tight freaking biker shorts and white leather jackets. It was 1991, or like before that when he was doing the Appetite stuff. Who looks the same way they look like when they were 23 years old? Why do people care? Like, unless
you're Duff, who like ages in reverse, apparently.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That was my fiance had a funny line. She's like, Axl looks good. Duff is still hotter. Look like that when you're older.
My girlfriend's in love with Duff. Oh God, in love with Duff. Yeah.
You could see the veins popping out of his arms when they zoomed in on him, like those big screens to the side, which were freaking awesome. I found myself watching those half the time, because it was like just such good camera work. You could see like they work out.
Yeah, they do. And
they do.
What you were saying, Brando, about like whoever would say like Axl wasn't prepared. That's a professional rock band that you saw at this show. I mean, that is like when you want to talk about sports, a professional athlete. That's what they're doing is at the highest level. That is a professional operation. So to say that he's not prepared is insane.
I'm just, you know me, because I see the comments, whether they're on my pages or on the forums. So it's, while they've been overwhelmingly, I think, maybe not overwhelmingly, more positive, way more positive than negative. And again, I'm surprised by that because this was a song that was Silkworms that I'm surprised that I love it as much. I can't believe it. But something else I want to talk about before, because I know Greg, you got to run in a few minutes.
I'm good.
Which was really cool because Axl's been like happy. He's just been smiling, and
you
to
can
see it you see it.
Greg. Yeah.
And even during the frustrations of Hershey with the technical difficulties, he fought through it. Like, you'd think we'd done this before.
When I saw those clips, I was like, oh man, like back in the day, that dude would have been gone. Show over.
We almost thought it was going to happen that during right before November Rain, there must have been maybe something wrong with his mix. And he was like something like about fucking keys, and everybody got quiet.
So can you go over the technical difficulties? Because I'm not aware of those that happened.
It was during Better that I thought he was missing lyrics, but it seemed like maybe his mic was cutting out for maybe a few seconds at a time, and perhaps there was also something wrong with his mix. Given like what I was saying to you about November Rain, he was complaining because you would see him ever since Better. He would go off stage and he would grab his microphone, and I've never worked with this mic like this. I don't know if there's like a switch that goes from the public address, him singing to maybe backstage so he can communicate with the sound guys. But he's always going in the back, looking over, talking to somebody. Since Better, who's throughout. But he battled through. He battled through it.
That's a new man. That's not the old Axl.
That's what I said. Like it didn't matter. So,
I still don't want to be that dude on the other end of that who messed that whole thing up backstage. I don't want to be the one he's backstage talking to.
Yeah, new Axl or not, I don't want to, fuck shit up.
Notice those problems don't exist anymore because it was fine last night.
It was perfect last night. But Greg, I want to know, because Axl felt so good as to not only before November Rain, but during it, give a shout out to Biz Markie with Just a Friend, and got everyone singing along to it.
Yeah.
And then he would eventually dedicate Knocking on Heaven's Door to Biz. But I mean, just he's breaking into it, and he tells like a funny story about meeting Biz Markie, randomly. He's like, he liked my car. Right. What was your reaction to that? That was surprising.
It was just wild to see him sitting down at a piano singing, you got what I need. That was insane. That was so freaking cool. Yeah, he just looks loose and chill. And I guess when you look at the amount of money that tour a couple of years ago pulled in, I mean, I guess I'd be kind of loose and chill too. You'd be like, everything is good. We're having fun up there. Yeah, it's just like it adds a lightness to it. I loved it. I'm curious what, first of all, I want to know, Mike, like what your maybe favorite song or two was from your show. And then Brandon, I'd love to hear the same from you.
Greg, you took the words out of my mouth. So I want to know what your guys' favorite song was. Let's do that. And then after that, I want to know what song you wish they played.
Ooh, that's a good one, bro.
So I'll go first. Dead Horse. I can't believe they played it. It was unbelievable. Only thing that was missing was Axl playing the guitar. But it was absolutely amazing. And I'm so shocked they played it. Number two, the song I wish they played, this is just probably from personal preference, Breakdown. I freaking love Breakdown. It doesn't get nearly enough credit. Like, it's such a good song.
That's a good call.
Yeah. So let's hear it, Brando.
I love hearing Double Talk and Jive in person. I really do. I may be the only one screaming home fuck.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Totally. I was like, oh, I couldn't wait till that at the end. Absolutely. Oh man, I agree.
And I do it just like he does it on the Tokyo DVDs. where I'm like, I do it the same exact way he sings it there. And, you know,
So
I'm
good.
doing his live parts that maybe he doesn't even do anymore because he only does one home fuck now instead of the two home fucks. But oh man, I'd be sure. And yeah, I love that. And then of course, Absurd. I mean, just to experience, I was at a Guns N' Roses show where they played new music. What?
Yeah.
You know, they with Slash and Duff, like what? Like that happened. So just to experience that live, I mean, that can't be taken away. So, and again, double talk and jive, but it's fun seeing, you know, whenever Sweet Child comes on, the crowd erupts. It does. Is with us diehards, we may be sick of it. I mean, I don't think I'm sick of it, but maybe like the diehards.
Axel steals the show with that one. He really does.
It's the whole band does, and just to hear the crowd erupt when like those big hits, Knock on Heaven's Door, Live and Let Die, all the radio hits. I mean, people ask, you know, why do they play those? There's a reason. I see it. The crowd erupts when those happen. Maybe not. I'm the one freaking out during Double Talk and Jive and Shacklers if they did play that.
That would
You
be
know,
great.
as far as what they wish I wish they would play that. I
too.
also wanted Pretty Tied Up. I really would want.
Good
I
one.
really want to hear that live.
Good one. Yeah, I think for me, like what I wish they played, it would be Breakdown or Pretty Tied Up, totally up there. I love seeing them play Coma live. That song's intense. Coma is just so great live. That whole like last minute and a half or 2 minutes when Axel's just going off would have been amazing to see that. I'm looking through the set list right here. I agree with you. Double Talk and Jive was insane. That's another song that sounds like you know how Metallica has that freight train thing happening? They're just a train that's going 2,000 miles an hour down the track. That's what that song was. So I love that song last night. Oh, I love that they did You're Crazy Slow.
Yeah, me too.
That was pretty great too. Obviously Absurd. Yeah, I love that Slash changed his guitar solo, that he does that managed boy thing now instead of doing like, because he was doing the Godfather thing forever. So I love that he just does that blues.
I like that
jam. I
too.
thought that was really hot. It was just great.
And I really like that, even though I love Attitude, I love that Stuff is doing the Stooges now. I think you look at Slash, he's
Good call.
feeling it. Like I just think they have rejuvenated some stuff. So I think people complaining about the set list are, as you alluded to before, people just still complaining about stuff. They've been doing enough that are feeding us diehards and are feeding still the masses. But Greg, before you get out of here, since you've been a diehard for so long, what's your favorite piece of memorabilia? I always ask this of you bad apples who come on here.
So yeah, I mean, my favorite piece of memorabilia, and it's not a piece of memorabilia. So because I've been playing guitar since I was 13, when I got into Guns N' Roses, like Slash is the reason I have a Les Paul. So that's not memorabilia.
That's still
like,
cool.
It's
That counts.
because of him that I have that. And that's like the biggest gift in the world because I love that damn thing. I don't know if really I have anything else that's collector-ish. That's not really my thing.
Okay.
So yeah.
Me neither.
Let's see the tattoo.
So here's the thing. So I'm going to set this up for a second. All right. So
Okay.
I'm a Jewish kid growing up in Bayside, Queens.
Nice.
Now, when your parents give you the thing as a Jewish kid, you can't have any tattoos. You can't be buried in a Jewish cemetery. And
I
I'm like,
know.
why do I care? I'm going to be dead, and I don't care. So then it became, when you're 18 years old, you can get a tattoo. And I was like, all right, cool. I filed that away. So 18, I was 72, 82, 92. That's 1990. As soon as I turned 18, I was in the West Village, and I did this.
Okay.
Right. So
The double guns crossing
double
over a
guns
rose.
and roses, old school style. So yeah, and then like I still lived at home for a couple of years. I kept the shirt on for like years, and then finally, like when I had moved away from home or something, I think my parents saw me at a pool or something, and they were like, "What the hell is that?" And I was like,
Baby.
"You said I could get a tattoo when I was 18. I listened. I told you I was gonna get one." So yeah, that's my Guns N' Roses tattoo. And I have a funny moment last night. Not that I have a couple tattoos. You don't like regret them because that would be stupid. You make a decision, I'm gonna have this forever, right? At one point last night, 2, 3, 4 songs in, I was like, this is why I have this tattoo. I was like, this is why. Because they can do that.
That's funny. I like that. And speaking of which, now that because I have like a tank top on, if you're watching Zoom, I can show mine, which was my first GNR tattoo. Let's see if I can turn around.
All right. I
Let's
don't
use your
know.
illusion.
Oh yes, love it.
Oh, okay.
There we
Love
go.
it.
Now I can see it now on my back.
Yeah.
So it's just
Love
on my
it.
left shoulder blade.
That's cool.
I got that when I was 21. And
Right.
when my dad saw it, he goes, "At least it's not a skull."
There you go.
And my mom almost disowned me because also she's I'm in Jewish family.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's why I can show this. I have Hebrew on my arm to make it even worse.
There we go.
There it is. Yeah.
It says patience. It says patience.
Oh, that's funny. That's great.
Avlenut in Yiddish.
Well,
In
I
Ju-
got one too. I saw Slash.
Before you go off, Mike, and your tattoo. Sorry, because I know Greg's got to run.
I
Right?
do have to split. Thank you. Before I run, by the way, Mike, nice meeting you. Brando, this was amazing. This was a lot of fun. What is your favorite piece of memorabilia? Because you got all that cool stuff behind you.
Oh, I mean, I have a GNR shirt signed by Slash and Duff that I got at Velvet Revolver show, which was
Very cool.
pretty special. But I mean, I think now, I mean, I have this pinball thing signed by Eric Munet. I have this lithograph signed by Arian Buer. I mean, I've gotten some pretty special, just some cool things. So I mean, but I think that just
That's
that T-shirt signed because it's also a memory of a moment in
Very
time.
cool. Ooh, I want to share one more cool story with you guys, and then I'm going to
Okay.
split. So after Guns N' Roses broke up, and then a couple years after that, I think Slash's first, I think it was like Slash and Blues Breakers or Blues something before they were Velvet Revolver. He did something else. Snake Pit.
Yeah.
That was it. We saw Snake Pit at.
We had the Blues Ball also.
Yeah, Blues Balls.
I'm not sure which one it was then, but we
Got
saw
it.
them at Irving Plaza, right? Like right up against the stage. And you're in a club with like 2,000 people. Like it's Slash is right there. My buddy was drinking a Jack and Coke. He goes up like this. Slash is playing. He leans over. He takes my buddy's Jack and Coke. He downs it, gives him the empty glass back, goes back to playing. My friend was like this. He drank my Jack and Coke. He drank my Jack and Coke. It's awesome.
I bet he still tells that story to this day.
And it's so cool that even I tell the story for him.
There you
I hope Slash Venmoed him
Yeah,
right there.
that
Exactly.
$13 drink. Yeah.
All these years
All right,
later.
guys. I got to split. Awesome meeting you. Really
Greg,
appreciate
it was
you
a
having me on.
pleasure, man. I could do this all day, like I said.
Yeah,
Right
absolutely.
on.
Hey, I'm gonna post a bunch of really cool stories and stuff. Do you mind? Can I put my Instagram on here? Do you mind, Brando? Or if not, that's
Yeah,
cool.
no, go for it. What do you want
Oh,
to?
it's Greg Sugarman on Instagram. Let me just make sure it's not with a period in there or something like that. And then
It's not like Sugar Baby Greg or edit.
no.
Sugar
Not
Ray
that-
Greg.
That's not that fancy. Yeah, it's just Greg Sugarman, GreggSugerman. So I'm gonna post a bunch of stories later on today. I got a lot of good stuff from those seats last night.
Awesome.
So
Yeah, we
let's
didn't
follow
even get
each
to in this episode. Oh, it's
Yeah,
right.
you
Next
guys
time.
didn't get a chance to link up last night?
Us two? No.
No,
Yeah,
no,
we're-
that didn't happen.
No, well, we're meeting here.
We're doing it now. Exactly.
Exactly. So, all right, boys.
Thanks, Greg.
This was fun. Later, guys.
Easy, Greg.
So now we're gonna have the encore with Mike. So this is I'm glad they did 2 songs yesterday because when I saw them in Hershey, they only did Paradise City, but they did Patience and
So
Paradise last night.
that was one of my biggest, honestly, complaints of the show. Since when did they just do a 1-song encore? And it's just Paradise City. I was kind of disappointed in that.
I think they're being really good with the city ordinances, and it
Yeah.
varies a little bit from state to state. I think I don't know. When did they end in Boston?
So it's crazy. They played for like 2.5 hours. I think they came on at 7:45 and ended at 10:15. So that's 2.5 hours. And I saw something that the city ordinance in Boston, it used to be 11. Now that show was 10:30.
There you go. That's what it is.
So,
That's
yeah.
what it is. Because I thought they were gonna squeeze in 2 at Hershey, which was I think 11, and they ended at 10:50. I'm like, oh, they can fit in 2 songs, but they're not. No, they're not even gonna fuck with it. So they were able to fit in 2 yesterday. Finished a few minutes before 11. So yeah, I may have said this before because Doug Goldstein told me this. Like that he used to just carry around money and just used to have to find out how much he needed to pay to keep the band overtime. And Axl didn't care.
Yeah.
And the rest of the band cared, but it's
So-
like you're still making a lot of money. So I really don't know what to tell you.
Exactly. So I actually heard the same thing. Well, not that Doug Goldstein would carry around cash, but when I saw Aerosmith at Fenway Park, they played well over 11, and this was 10 years ago, so this wasn't that crazy. And that's what I heard, the same thing, that they were like, screw it, we're in Boston, we're doing Fenway, we'll pay whatever. And who knows? It's freaking Aerosmith in Boston. They probably let it slide.
Maybe. I'm also wondering if things are just, or maybe fines went up because of COVID. People want just trying to be safer. This is just speculation, but yeah, I heard that just that first night about the city ordinance, and I heard that 10:30 in Boston, and last night it was 11. So I knew they were gonna. So yeah, that's where it comes down to. So that's not a GNR problem, and that's why they moved everything up an hour. That's why a week before, when the doors or the show was supposed to start at 7, now it starts at 6.
Yeah, when I
So
saw
it's,
doors at 5:30 with one band opening, I was I was shocked. But then, freaking, thank God we got in there on time because 7:45 it was still light out, which is
isn't that
it's
weird?
always a bummer when it's still light out. You want it to be dark, you want everything, yeah. But
Isn't that weird though? And you see them coming out, it's light. It's like
yeah,
it's like a dream. It's like, wait, but
yeah,
this doesn't make sense. It's all-
yeah.
it's very strange.
It just doesn't. It's just strange, yeah. Um,
That too.
so you mentioned which is strange was like unbelievable every single time, and I'm so glad they freaking play it. It's literally that's my all-time favorite gun song, and with just the mix of Slash and freaking Axl, and then maybe a "Where's Izzy" sign around. You never know.
You never know, but that's such a special. Every time they play Strange now this Slash is there and doing it. It's really special because that was certainly it's a highlight of their catalog in a moment, and then their creativity. I think.
Absolutely. Go on.
No, go ahead, buddy.
Oh, like Dizzy, like play. So like, I'd love to see Axl on the piano in that song, but it's always Dizzy, it seems.
Yeah, and actually, I was really watching Dizzy's fingers last night. I'm like, you know what? He needs a little bit more kudos for that. I mean, he nails it. He probably could do that in his sleep though. He's been doing it for so.
Exactly. And another thing about that, I think Axl's like piano skills are kind of underrated. Like him in November Rain, granted he's been playing it since 19 freaking who knows what, 87 or 85. He's really good on the piano.
He is. It impressed my Dave Matthews fan fiance. Like, wow, like he's a really musical. Does he know how to play the guitar? I'm like, well, sometimes during Dead Horse he will. So she's just had some really interesting reactions. I tweeted it. She said a couple fun things because this is her third GNR show. She never would have gone without me, but she likes them. She appreciates them. I've tried to like
falling in love like you though.
no.
Yeah.
She knows a lot of their stuff. She has a great time. But just I can't get into Dave Matthews. I've tried. I wish I could show her the same love and affection towards her favorite band that she does for me, but I can't. But when she first I told you that comment she made about Duff. She loves Duff and she wants me to look like him when I'm older. But when she first heard Absurd, I really thought she was gonna like hate it because it's such like a weird thing. And she's like, you know what I think? This is current. That's why this is good. She's like, kids, because she's a dance teacher in Queens. Little kids, anyone from 3 years old to teenagers, high school. She's like, this is what my kids would listen to. If this was just rock straight, just like what she loves. She's like, I don't know if that would move the needle, but she's like, it tells with the instrumental, like he's paying attention, and even though that this is a quote old song, either that means Axl was kind of a visionary with stuff, or he tweaked things to really keep up with what is relevant. I think that helps. That's what makes me wish Melissa was involved or is involved. We'll see, because I can only imagine her youth, what she can bring into what today's sound should be. So exactly. I saw that was interesting. Oh, one thing before, because I also want to get your favorite piece of memorabilia, but I tweeted this and this made me laugh. Maybe this is why I'm marrying her. I was like, so you gonna get a Guns N' Roses tattoo after last night? She's like, yeah, I'm gonna get pussy full of maggots with a arrow beneath. I'm like, what?
Love it.
So
yeah,
that made
let's all get matching maggot tattoos.
Yeah, we'll get some absurd, literally absurd tattoos. So anyway, Mike, as we
the thing about Absurd is the song itself is absurd.
Perfect. That's why I'm glad it's not called Silkworms anymore. I think this is just it's perfect. It really, the way it is, it's not Welcome to the Jungle, it's not November Rain, but just for what this is and for what may come, I couldn't be happier as a GNR fan.
One of the things I still love about them is that they don't go crazy with their stage. I don't know what the word is, but they don't go overboard with it. They got their two freaking screens on the side, and then I don't know if they had that for the show with you or if that was just a Fenway.
That was it. Yeah.
Yeah, and then just a couple like friggin' new like videos in the background. It's like with their whole new like style.
I agree. Because even when they have like the pyro that's supposed to happen during like not Live and Let Die, it's just the video of the pyro. And I think that's a safety thing because I'll also see complaints with about the stage. I'm like, you want to go see pyro? Go see Kiss. All right, like who cares? I'm not at a, I don't know. I'm not at a demolition derby where I need to see shit explode. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I see the band. Axel's moving. They're all moving around. Like this is
They keep
great.
it simple, and it does the job because like they put the show on for themselves. They don't need that.
Which is the irony of Kiss. Well, you know how that the it's supposed to be to remember, keep it simple, stupid.
Oh,
Ever hear that?
Opposite. No.
Oh, okay, that's
never
usually
heard
that's what is it, the acronym? Just to kind of remember
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
Keep it
And
simple, stupid.
I heard you and Alan Niven talking about that. Talking about Kit.
Yes, yeah. Oh, Alan Niv, I can't believe I threw up in front of him. I can't believe
And I
that.
also you threw up in front of him.
I know you listen to the show. I don't expect anybody to listen to everyone. So I told this when I went on vacation a few weeks ago.
Which
I met
I
up with
saw that was recent.
yeah. So I went up with him at a restaurant in Prescott, Arizona, and I didn't realize how sensitive my stomach is. So I got really car sick on the way. I mean, my fiance decided to take the scenic route, which was just like a Mario Kart road, just like all over. So I was just dizzy when I got there. I thought it was enough to cancel on him. And I'm like, let me just go in there, go in the bathroom. And I started walking towards the restaurant and I couldn't hold it in. It threw up, behind, like between two cars. And Alan and his wife happened to be sitting like in the window seat, like, 10 yards from where I threw up. Next thing I know, I feel Alan's back, a hand rubbing my back and saying like, "Are you okay?" in his New Zealand accent. So yeah, I threw up in front of Alan Niven.
A
That's
real
how
life
cool.
spaghetti incident, so to speak.
Yeah, something like that. Something like that. I know you got a run as well. What is your favorite piece of Guns N' Roses memorabilia, if I can get that?
So I would say 100% my Slash autograph tattoo.
Oh, nice.
It's right there under my Tom Brady autograph tattoo. so go figure. My two favorite people. I grew up being an Axl fan, Axl till death, and then all of a sudden it kind of transferred to Slash. And I'll finish with this, but Axl's obviously amazing and all this stuff, but the last freaking times I've seen them, Slash has been absolutely stealing the show, and everyone goes crazy for him, and just he really is. And the fact that like I think it's obvious, and Axl's like cool with it is like, wow. I don't know if you agree. But that's kind of the way I've been taking it, and maybe because I'm like a little Slash over Axl, even though I fucking love them both till death. But I mean,
I think it's people are really. I think usually the lead singer is singing along and everything gets all the attention. Slash is getting his own attention, and people are like, "I am seeing Slash," and freaking out. And I think he is just because they probably did the same thing at Fenway because they did it at Hershey and they've done it at other GNR shows. People come dressed up like him.
Yeah, exactly.
So he is. That's why I mean Axl kept this train rolling for a long time with Bucket, Ashba, Bumble, and I love that era. Many of us love that era, but Slash is just another element, and he is just they are. We love Duff too, but those two guys. Those are the pillars right there of GNR that people come to pay to see, and it's absolutely incredible.
Exactly, and I mean love Duff. He's freaking awesome, but he didn't like in that sense. He didn't so much to say steal the show, and that he was. I've seen him in other shows where everyone's like huge on Duff, but in Fenway he just didn't. He didn't steal it. So
Well, again, I love the Stooges thing he's doing now, and he seems to be feeling it, and Duff is feeling it.
I didn't know that one. I would have taken Attitude or him singing So Fine or something like that. But yeah,
fair enough. No, I'm sure there are people who agree with you too. Yeah, I like with you when I first heard Attitude from GNR, I had to go back and the Misfits. I like this band.
Is that Tokyo DVD? That's I think the reason why I knew it.
Okay, I forget when. I forget the first time when I. Sorry, I'm cutting you off. Say that again.
I saw the Tokyo DVD. or whatever, the freaking Tokyo concert. I thought that was the first time I ever seen them do Attitude.
Okay. Yeah, right
so that
on.
was me. Yeah. But dude, this has been great. It's freaking had an absolute blast. Like I said, I could do this forever. And like some of your interviews are just freaking so awesome. You've interviewed some freaking cool people. I don't know how you secured them, but
I don't either.
freaking it's worth it. And listening to you from like the beginning to like coming up now, like you've become a really good interviewer. And I think you're freaking got an awesome podcast. And I'm gonna keep listening for a long time.
Well, thank you, Mike. I really appreciate that. And it's people like you, why I was happy to have you on the podcast and invited you is the reason why I'm doing it. And, because being able to share my experience with you and Greg and all the people, social media and streaming videos and people telling me to have a good time that who don't know me is really cool and special. And before you go, let me just say sorry, but not sorry for Eli Manning and David Tyree. And
I'll also take the 6 rings plus 1. I'm still a Tampa Bay guy.
Oh man, he is something else.
Everywhere. Yeah, I'll fanboy for guns and I'll fanboy for Tom Brady over everything.
Well, you got the 2 goats right tattooed on you, so that's
you couldn't have said it better yourself.
Well, thank you so much, Mike. So that does it for the official Fenway Park review, the MetLife Stadium review. When are you going to see? We're going to get some reviews, I believe, for Comerica Park in Detroit. I've had some listeners volunteer for that. I want to do this more since, hey, I wish I can go to every show. I want to travel, with this band, but I unless Atlantic City goes down or something else surprising happens, I'm not going to any more shows on this tour. So I expect you, the AFD Show listener, to come on the podcast to tell me all about it, tell us all about it, and hopefully more new songs will debut as we go along. But as far as upcoming guests, I do have, I can announce this one. I announced it on social media. Matt Sorum coming back to the podcast in September 6th. I'm recording. I'll probably put it out that day since his book is coming out September 7th, day before my birthday. And also another big name, not official yet. I don't have a date yet, but I'll be announcing that soon. So follow social media. That's how the conversation continues between the podcast. When's the next one? Well, in the words of Axl Rose concerning Chinese democracy, you'll see it. I don't know if soon is the word.